Hi, my beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. If you have not as yet, and it's your first time coming across my channel, right? My channel is all about spirituality and self-development as well, right? And but a lot of things that we speak about here is about developing yourself, knowing yourself, being a better person, and being able to manifest your life's desires with less difficulty because you get to understand yourself, right? So if you have not as yet, go ahead and like my videos, and also subscribe to my channel. Click on the subscription button, right, so that you can see when I make new videos, when I do my lives, when I post my videos, okay? So today we're speaking about a nice topic regards to human relationships. Okay, so we normally relate to others the way we relate to ourselves. Okay, if you love yourself, accept yourself, and don't have any issues, you normally have easier relationships with other people, right? People that you meet, like your family members and everything. But we need to go take in consideration that your first expression of how to relate to others is learned at home in your family unit, when you with your family members from the time you were a young child, how people relate to each other. You learn this as a child, okay? Because as a child, the first 7 years of your life experience is about absorbing your surroundings, learning, getting to know how this world works, right? So you first learn this type of interactions regards to family and getting good well with other people. You learned it at home, you learned it in front of you by your parents, or now actually exposing to you how to actually behave in a family unit, okay? Regards to how you speak to people. When you are angry, when you're disappointed, or when you're wanting something, how do you speak to people, right? So we learn these things. That childhood conditioning is very important when it comes to our relationship and how it makes us who we are. It builds us to the people that we are today because of the childhood experiences, our experiences in our families, okay? Then we get to learn now how to communicate to other people, how to relate with other people, how to express ourselves. So in that case, as a child, we're absorbing all the ways your parents and your family members actually navigate relationships. You're absorbing those things, and you get to see, okay, so this is how you behave when you love, to show that you are angry. This is what you do. This, you learn all these things. So as you grow up, you have that sense of self. It becomes your sense of self that you now adapted from your family, from the exposure, from your indoctrination, right? So then later on in life, in your romantic relationships, you do the same thing. In your in romantic relationship, now you play out this whole way of communicating that you've learned from childhood, and as you're growing up as a young adult till your teenage years and stuff like that to become an adult. Then in your relationship now, all the bad habits that you've picked up, all the things that were actually toxic, you picked it up. Now you start expressing it in your relationship. So romantic relationships are the most transformative types of relationship experiences you can ever have. People face difficulties, lots of difficulties and challenges when it comes to our relationships, okay? And then remember that the reason that we have certain problems in our relationships stem from psychological issues, emotional issues, and as well as spiritual issues and biological issues as well. Okay, so everything comes into play here, you know. Then your childhood wounds, everything that happened in your childhood would play out in your relationships. Thank you for joining my live, Nino. I'm Sisian, life coach and motivational speaker. If you have not as yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. My channel is all about self-development, being aware and awakening and understanding who you are, so you're able to show up better in the world and become a better partner in your relationships and stuff like that. So knowing and understanding all your weaknesses and where you need to work on helps you become a better person, right? Because in relationships we tend to always blame the other person, okay? We don't look within ourselves and maybe it's me, maybe I could do things differently, maybe I can show up more better for this person. But if you don't have an understanding that you can do better, you can never ever have the realization that you need to actually improve yourself. So we're always blaming other people in our relationships. We blame our partners for things not going right. We blame them that they are actually not able to communicate very well. We don't understand them. They don't understand us. Okay, not understanding that your whole personality has been developed from a young age. From the time you with your parents living at home, you learned how to be who you are, how to relate to other people, how to communicate in relationships by what you absorb from childhood. Okay, then as you go on in life, when you go and you start school, you get exposed to more people, then you learn that this is how people actually communicate in my community, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Because remember that what you learn at home is your family tribe way of behavior and communicating. Okay, in every society there's a cultural way of you talking, and there's moral codes and stuff like that. So you learn your first moral codes at home. So this is what we, in our tribe, in our home, this is how we behave, this is how we communicate. This is our moral code, right? And you take that out and you go into the world with it, and you get exposed to more people coming from different backgrounds like yourself. And then you learn and you see, okay, in this community where I'm from, this is how we behave, this is how we talk, this is what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So you're learning all those things from the age, from birth, from age to 7 years old. That's your most learning phase, because that's you were basically a blank slate before, right? So the first 7 years you've been bombarded with all these different things on how to communicate, how to relate to different people in your family, what it is to love somebody, how to show intimacy and stuff like that, right? So you find you go out there in the world now and you find that people are very intimate, and you want to be in my home, there was no such thing, we don't do those type of things. Then becomes a problem, right? Then you wonder, well, what should I do? Then you take what serves you at the time, especially if you are given a very liberal upbringing at home, where your parents gave you an opportunity to make your own choices on how you actually express yourself in terms of intimacy and stuff like that, and touch things and hugging and touch. You find that, okay, in my home we don't do that. So you take that same type of way of thinking, and you go into the world, you go to school, you start now socializing other people, and you learn that these people are more intimate. They like to touch, and I don't like that. But then you have a right to also say, well, I feel uncomfortable with this type of intimacy, because at the end of the day, I'm not used to it, and it's not something I was taught at home. So we need to understand. Now we get to understand that we need to have space and allow other people space to be themselves, right? So childhood wounds can also affect your relationships, okay? Those attachments, now you learn attachment styles. There's different forms of attachment styles. So now we're talking about relationships basically, right? So I went into the childhood concepts, and I'm talking about now the ways we actually express ourselves in terms of relationships. So we have these attachment styles and how we actually attach to other people. Okay, we have the secure, we have the anxious, we have the avoidant style, right? And there's many others as well that they haven't mentioned in my notes here. That's how we relate to other people and to ourselves. Now this is coming from at home, how your parents, your inner tribe, your family actually related in terms of how they communicate and stuff like that, and how you learn about what it is to be human and being a person, and the rights that you have. Now, every home is different. So people are coming from different homes, and they're coming and they're meeting each other in these settings, and they start dating, and they start, you know what I mean, interacting and stuff like that. Then you find that, no, this person's totally different to me, right? But somehow I like this person. I want to have a life with this person. Then at the end of the day, you end up arguing and fighting because your worldviews are even different. Your styles of communicating is different. Everything is different, right? But then we learn how to cope with these type of things, right? Now that's a main reason why people have a problem in relationships these days, is because of the childhood wounds, how you were brought up, right? So you bring that into a relationship, and then you're not taking cognizance to that situation, that your partner is totally from a different background, and there's no right or wrong way of bringing up children, right? So there's no right or wrong way of living. You just have to work with that person and try to build a relationship. Another issue is a lack of self-awareness, okay? So we're looking at the reasons why relationships are so difficult. We mentioned the first one, childhood wounds, right? I went in depth in that. Now we're talking about lack of awareness and self-love. Okay. So because of our childhood backgrounds and how we're brought up, okay, as I told you, in each home, there's not a lot of expression. People don't talk about their feelings. People don't touch. People don't show intimacy. People not real with each other. So you take that you've learned from your home and you go into a relationship. Thank you for joining my life. You go into your relationship with all those type of issues that you have. Your lack of awareness and self-love is so dumbed down that you, because at home maybe you will always be criticized. You were always told that you're not perfect, that you're not good enough, you need to do better. So your self-awareness drops and your self-love and acceptance is very, 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 very low. Right now you're in this relationship because somehow you're looking for that love, right? Not understanding that you need to love yourself first, okay? Because at the end of the day, you were not getting it at home, so you never get to even love and appreciate yourself. A simple thing like praising a child, and complimenting them when they do something good, maybe an art piece of art, or they do good in school. Parents are the first people that teach their children how to have self-love. Okay, so self-love is also linked on where you getting that validation at home, where you getting that self-acceptance at home, when you are not getting that from home, right? So now you're not really aware and you're lacking the self-love, because somehow if you're getting the opposite when people always criticizing you, right? So you always won't feel enough because all your feedback, so the feedback loop you were getting from your family members were not positive enough to uplift your self-awareness and make you more confident and appreciate yourself. Okay, so you end up lacking in that sphere. All right. Then you go into a relationship and now you start exposing your issues to your partner, and you want that partner to love you unconditionally. You're seeking for this love outside of yourself, right? Causing problems. Okay, now you having this, you're over connecting to the person you too now, you know what I mean? You jealous, you have all these unstable imbalances because you don't have self-awareness, don't have self-love, right? Then the other one was communication. Communication styles may be different because, as I said, people are not brought up in the same type of homes, right? In some homes, you as a child, you're told that you can express yourself, you can, because your opinion is valid, okay? And in other homes, that does not happen, and you find that the child is robbed of that and starved of freedom of expression. So when they're in their relationships now, they're not able to even communicate, because back at home, if you did speak, you were shut down. Okay, and so now you're even afraid of people judging you because you were judged at home. So now you find that, okay, it's not, the world is not a safe space for me to communicate my truth. Okay, because it's something that you were taught at home. I mean, you even pick it up when a child's in school, in primary schools, even high school. Those children that don't like to express themselves come from a home where it was actually oppressed. The opinions were not valid. They were told they're not good enough. Okay, so that can also affect your self-esteem. Okay, so your communication style is different. So you're more quiet, and you're only spoken to when you asked. You don't give your opinion. You keep quiet, right? Only when you are forced to speak up, then you will then speak up. Otherwise, you keep yourself sheltered because you're afraid that you're going to be shut down or criticized. Okay, so that can also cause a lot of problems. Communication differences, unrealistic expectations is another one. Unrealistic expectations in the relationship, this comes up a lot in my coaching. Unrealistic expectations, a lot of people are expecting too much from their partners. In that sense, they're expecting those things that they cannot give themselves in the relationship. They want that from their partner, right? And there's another stuff is emotional triggers. Another one is emotional triggers and projecting all your issues on the next person. Okay, now remember that there's no guidebook when it comes to relationships. There's no guidebook However, when you become mature enough and old enough to understand that you can work on your relationship, that your partner is not perfect and neither are you, because you're both coming from different backgrounds, right? You both need to work through certain things to make your lives better, right? To make the relationship better. As I said at the beginning, the relationships are the most transformative experiences because they're there to transform us, right? As a woman married for about 14 years, I understand the concept about marrying somebody who's totally different from you, from me, from a different background, and how I had to adapt. Even till date, you understand, because we're both growing and evolving and changing. I can't expect him to be the same he was when I met him 14 years ago. Neither can he do that for me as well, because we're constantly growing. It's transformative experience, transformative experience that we're having in our relationships, right? So I mentioned childhood trauma is one of the issues. Thank you for liking my life. Childhood traumas is one of the issues. I mentioned lack of awareness, being not aware about yourself, and lack of self-love, lack of communication issues, not the ability not to communicate clearly with your partner, and maybe you have different communication styles. Okay, somebody's more vocal, somebody's an introvert and doesn't talk much, right? And the other one is more vocal and very expressive. And when a person is being expressive and maybe they're very loud, then you feel intimidated with your partner. Okay, these things happen. Then I mentioned unrealistic expectations, when you're expecting the unrealistic things from your partner, things that even you cannot offer in that relationship, right? And then emotional triggers and projections. That's a very big one, emotional triggers. You need to study your partner. It took me a while to study my husband. What really triggers him, right? Then I also ask myself, what triggers me, right? Because anything I need to know myself as well so that I can know him, right? So you know yourself so you can know your partner, right? Then the differences between values, and it's a very big thing because people have different values. As I said in the beginning, we're all born in a family. Our families have different values and ways of engaging with each other, right? So when you get out to the world, you learn that your values are not necessarily the same as what other people are actually holding as values. You understand? And then also fear of intimacy is another problem. Okay. Again, if you never get a healthy uh, expression of what is intimacy from home, you understand, as a child, your parents will teach you about the hugging and the touching and the, the even eye contact, looking at a person. Sometimes in some homes, children are not allowed to look into their parents' eyes. And it depends on the type of culture, right? You know what I'm trying to say. In certain cultures, they say that it's rude for you to look into your eldest eyes. So those type of things can also cause problems when it comes to intimacy. Because intimacy is a lot of subtle things that people think it is just more the intimacy, sexual things. No, intimacy is speaking, tone of voice, how you speak to people, and your tone of voice. Intimacy is looking at a person, eye contact. Intimacy is touch. You know what I mean? Intimacy is even the way you speak to a person with kindness. When you're complimenting people, thank you. That's a very intimate thing as well. Thank you. And you get a person and smile. Thank you. Even smiling, your body language is also a way of you expressing intimacy, right? So all that you learn at home as a young child from the birth to 7 years, go to school and then you get bombarded with more information on how other people express their intimacy, right? How they express their intimacy, you know what I mean, verbally or even physically. Like some people don't like to have people standing too close to them. That's another way of you not, that's another way of you feeling it's too intimate for you to come into my inner circle. You're too close. I like my space because in my home, that's how we behave. Nobody comes too close to each other. You know what I mean? So all those things, all the subtle ways of way we are being intimate, right? Then the other issue was trauma and nervous system issues. Right now, remember, any traumatic incident in your life experience triggers a nervous system trigger in your body. Okay, depending on what type of trauma it is, right? But then again, Like trauma affects your body big time, and it affects your nervous system. It even goes as far as affecting certain organs as well, like even your bladder, right? If a child is constantly being beat at home, constantly being cut down, constantly put in a state of fear, it affects your kidneys, it may affect your bladder as well. You understand? So that fear sits in there, in those cells, right? So you all walking around with all this baggage, emotional baggage coming from our life traumas, okay? So trauma and nervous system issues can also cause problems in relationship because your partner may be coming from different background and different types of trauma that you have never even been exposed to. Now you're wondering why your partner, number one, is getting triggered, because remember that the trauma shows itself when a person gets triggered on certain things. The way you look at a person when you have an argument, or the way you speak to a person, that may just trigger some traumatic issue. And then you find a person starts now blowing out and getting, nervous, or a person will just shut down, depending on what was their, what they call a coping mechanism as a child, right? So our coping mechanisms as a child, when you were in a traumatic situation, is kept in your subconscious mind. So when you are now exposed to the same traumatic event, that memory of how to cope with it will come through. Okay. So then again, if your coping mechanism is shutting down and just keeping quiet, right? You will also use the same expression when you are having an argument as an adult, because that's the way you actually cope with the situation, right? If your one is violence, you lash out. So each time you traumatize, you're feeling attacked, you traumatize, it's triggering that memory, you lash out, because at home you were taught that each time, like your parents solve problems with beating, with violence, with verbal violence, or even physical violence. So now you start adapting that. You start adapting that, right? Like, for example, in my early years, I was in a very abusive relationship, right? First boyfriend type of relationship. Now, I'm not from a family where we lash out physically, okay? But this person was from that type of background, right? Lashing out physically. You get my point? Our way of coping was that if you were in a traumatic situation, is to, you know, take yourself out of the situation and go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Just withdraw from the situation totally. So that person was to lash out physically. Get my point? So these two worlds came together. Myself and that person came together in a relationship, and then we started now having this relationship, and then all these issues started coming out. That this person cannot handle disappointments. When he gets disappointed, he gets angry. You want to lash out. This person doesn't like feeling lonely, or even feeling like he's been rejected, because at home he was always rejected, and he had a coping mechanism, which was basically violence again. They get angry, and you know what I'm trying to say. So that's how it is, right? So you're carrying this type of conditioning into your relationships, right? And you're meeting new people, and now you're finding out that I can't cope with this person because this person, there's something wrong with them. Not understanding that everybody has something wrong with them. We all have something wrong with us. There's no perfect person. The question is, can you identify what the issue is right now? The maturer you are, the better. Because I remember when I was younger in my first relationships, it wasn't very easy and smooth going, because firstly I will choose the wrong people for the wrong reasons, okay? Because you're still young, you understand? But as I got older, then I started seeing red flags, things called red flags. Okay, this person has this issue, right? Okay, this is what happens when I say a certain thing, or when I do a certain thing, or this person sees me doing a certain thing, he will behave in a certain way. You know, that only comes later on in life. That's why relationships are not for small children. Serious romantic relationships are not for people that are not matured. Because the more mature you are, the more you understand the human condition, the better relationships you have, right? So even for myself, if I look at myself now, married for 14 years, right? It took me a while to understand how human beings work, how I work, how my mind works. It took me a while. So now I find that I'm better in my relationships now. My platonic ones and my romantic marriage relationship with my partner, you understand? Meaning that life is about the transformations, about you transforming and understanding and becoming better as a person, right? That's why they always say that youngsters should focus on being children and enjoy being a child. Don't get involved into relationships that are too demanding of you. You know what I mean? Where you need to be a matured person when you're still a child. So these type of problems of what we are facing in relationships, okay? Then the other one is lack of inner alignment and purpose. That's another thing. You walk into a relationship with another person, you have these your life set. You got this 5 year plan, you got a 10 year plan, you know exactly what you want. Okay, you meet somebody who doesn't have that. Okay, remember that again, that in alignment and purpose is something that's been fed to you as a child. Okay, in your home, your parents are purpose driven people. They have timelines for everything. They know that you need to finish this degree at this time, you need to get this, they're very clued up. Then you meet somebody from a totally different family where they're relaxed and chilled, living only for the moment now. It's only about the now. It's only about the now. We don't care about nothing else. So long as I'm eating, I'm full, and that's it. And I have money in my pocket, I'm not worrying about nothing else. So you now, somebody coming from that purposeful background where there's timelines and there's big 5 year plans and 2 year plans, and you know how to get things done, and you two you're on your ball. You're very progressive, you're career driven, you got a business, you're on your ball, and you fall in love with somebody who's totally different. Okay, so opposites do attract in that sense. When it comes to relationships, opposites do attract, because the mere fact is that what I need to learn and what you need to learn, my partner who's from a different background, is two different things, right? So we come together to help each other out to learn. Okay, so now people may have a mistake by simply saying, oh my God, I can't get along with this person, there's not, we have nothing in common. But there's something you do have in common. You're attracted to that person. Was the first thing that we get to do, right, when we meet somebody. Is the physical attraction, is the energetic pull that brings us together. That energetic pull means that we have something to give to each other for this time, right? That it might be a short term, it might be a lifetime relationship as well. Okay, because we have this idea that marriages and relationships should last forever. That whole they do a support nonsense. Okay, it's only about the learning. So what can I get from this relationship? What am I going to take out of this experience of being with you? Okay, what am I going to gain as a person? When it is over, it's over. We get something called a divorce, and people think it's a bad thing, right? But as time is going by and people are getting to understand that life is about the experience, really. There's no right and wrong, and it's not time frame. It's about what you could get from that experience that you're getting at that moment, okay? It's about you becoming a better person with every relationship and interaction you have, all right? Even in an abusive relationship. The most learning type of relationship is an abusive relationship, because then again it teaches you on what you don't want in life, what is not good for you, what is not serving you. You understand? It teaches you that you need to put yourself first, that you need to put your needs first, your safety first before you somebody else's needs. Put yourself first. You see, so those abusive relationships took him out of experience, because I've been in abusive relationships, right? I've been one major abusive relationship and one not so major, but it was an abusive one, okay? But physical abusive, and then the other one was psychologically abusive, right? But now the one that's psychologically abusive, we don't really understand how impactful that one is on you, on your personality, how it can cut you down, right? So at that time, I didn't know that what I needed to do was, okay, learn from my mistakes, learn from why, what even attracted me to this person, okay? And when I was in a relationship, was I allowing this person to do this, yeah, right? Like if you're in a relationship and a person starts being violent with you on your first date, you can see this person has violent tendencies. That's a red flag already, right? People don't take notes of that. Well, when you're a child and you're young, you don't really bother about those things, right? Because at the end of the day, especially if you never had that type of exposure at home, in your home, there was no hope of violence in your home and stuff like that. So you don't know what it is. At the same time, you're still trying to give that person some time to maybe change. You understand? But everything has a learning point attached to it, right? Relationships are for there to grow us, right? They're there to expand us, and they're there to allow us to learn different things about ourselves and about the world. Okay, because not every relationship is all love and candy and every sweetness, right? Other relationships are very traumatic, emotional, even psychologically, right? So you have the choice at the beginning of the relationship. Watch those red flags. Find out that this person is not really stable in their mind, okay? That this person has an issue. So you cannot be the savior of that person. So you need to put yourself first and walk away. When you first see the red flags, the signs that say that this person is toxic, right? So this relationship is not going to be good. So you walk away. So now the problem is that people start getting connected to the people physically, okay? An intimate relationship where there's a lot of sex involved, right? There's an attachment that grows between these two people, okay? So it's even harder now when you people are in this type of relationship, because now you've really invested everything in this thing, in this relationship. That's why they say that you should not be going into the physical too soon in any relationship. Get to know your partner, learn the person very well, right, before you start investing other important things like your physical body, your physical body into in that relationship. Okay, people don't want to hear that in the modern world, right? It was their own, it's old fashioned, but there was a reason why that was even taught in the old days, that we need to first hold ourselves back before you go into physical intimate relationships, because once you're in there, those ethereal those connections, emotional connections start developing, and now you find that this person has issues and this relationship is not good for me, and now you maybe even fall pregnant before you even realize that this person's got problems, and then you have a problem because now you can't pull out totally, because now you're pregnant and there's a child coming out of the situation, right? That's why they said in the past days, our 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 old family members, ancestors in the old days, it the relationship starts with courting. The courting stage is where you get to know the person. You don't rush into anything physical. Right? You get to know that person. That's a major issue of why we have problems in relationships, because we rush to get intimate without doing the courting, get to know the person, communicate with the person, understand the person's frequency and energy, who they are, where they're going in life, okay? And ask yourself, do I want to be in this relationship? Before you invest your physical body, into the situation, and too much of your emotional body into the situation, ask yourself, is it good for me? Is it good for me to continue investing my time and my energy in this relationship? Very important. Is it possible to become mature when you come across as boring? Okay, the problem with boring and maturity is two different things. Okay, because the world thinks that when you mature, and I'm saying I want to do a certain thing, okay, I want to wait before we intimate. Okay, people say, oh, you're boring. That person's being mature. The world has twisted everything around. Okay, so my answer to you, Nino, is that you need to hold on to your own integrity. When somebody says to you, you're boring because you refuse to go out drinking, or you refuse to have whatever unprotected sex with somebody, whatever it is, okay, all those things are for your own good, not for that person. So you need to put yourself first. So again, you need to be emotionally mature enough to say, if you consider me boring because I'm deciding to do a mature thing, a mature decision, okay, then it's fine, because your point of view is yours, mine is mine. You have to own yourself, Nino, okay? You got to own yourself always. Always own yourself. Correct. The safe solution is to withdraw, but not to run away. That's true, right? When it comes to relationships, we need to put ourselves first. Don't worry about what other people are calling you. You boring. Your boring is your point of view, and it's not boring. You're putting yourself first. You are being more mature, because you can see the bigger picture, right? The whole idea of adolescence is normally this happens when you're an adolescent. People say you're boring because you're not choosing a certain thing that's common. Everybody's practicing it, and they say you're boring. Then you should stick to your way of thinking and not adapt theirs just to please them. You understand? Don't be a people pleaser. Right, no problem, noted. I like that question. Sorry, I saw it late. So you were saying something I see a lot in shutdown. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes you just shut down and decide, well, it is what it is. Sometimes it's no use you retaliating in the relationship and the person doesn't, it's not going to solve anything, right? So the best thing to do when it comes to how to actually communicate with your partner is to be more of a listener, yes, and more of a speaker. And somebody who's a verbal like me, I find a problem with being less of a speaker and more of a listener, right? But I've learned to actually kind of calm myself down and ask myself, okay, is it time for me to speak now or time for me to listen? Let me listen to this person. And even if I don't like what the person is saying to me, okay, I ask myself, why am I getting triggered? There's a reason why I'm getting triggered. You understand? Let me ask myself. Because this person is saying something that could be just like, he's not trying to offend me or criticize me, but why am I getting triggered? Okay, then I can figure out, okay, well, the reason I'm getting a triggered is because this type of thing makes me feel a certain way. Okay, why does it make me feel a certain way? Okay, because I feel maybe insulted. I feel like the person is putting me down. Okay, why do you feel? You keep asking yourself why. This is like the shadows, part of shadow work, right? So you can do your own little shadow introspection work, you know what I mean, in terms of relationships, to learn more about what makes you, what triggers you, and why it triggers you, and why do you act in a certain way. And maybe I can act in a better way. Maybe if I change the way I respond, maybe it'll make things better between me and my partner. You understand? That kind of thing. So that helps a lot. Okay, so relationships have their triggers, okay, because they're supposed to trigger us and help us grow, right? So when you find that an argument with your partner is not necessarily a bad thing, it could be a good thing as well, because then something has been exposed, something has been triggered within both of y'all, right? So you go back and you think about it. Like in most cases, all you need one mature person in the relationship, one to step back, because we all cannot be fighting and not stepping down and withdrawing, right? You get what I'm trying to say? Because then that doesn't end very well, right? So when you're having an argument, try and be that person that can be more quiet and listen and say, okay, this is crazy. We're fighting over a spoon, or we're fighting over money, or we're fighting over something silly. In most cases, the arguments in relationships are triggered by small, mundane, simple things that don't really mean anything to both the partners, you understand? But it triggered certain emotions within them. That's why they started getting angry or whatever, right? So how to address it, right? We're speaking about how to address it. Shadow work, as I mentioned. Now, working on yourself, constantly asking yourself, why am I getting triggered? This person said a simple thing, right? And I'm sure this person not being malicious or whatever. Why am I getting triggered? Right? Childhood trauma healing is important. All the pains and traumas you went through at home as a child, try and face them now as an adult, right? Don't run away from them, run towards them and ask, okay, this is what happened. And play it out in your head, write it in a journal, speak to maybe even a professional, go for some trauma counseling and all those things. Very important. Number two, authentic communication. Be authentic in your communication, right? Right? Learn to express your needs well with your partner. Okay, if the person is not willing to listen to you, right, constantly not willing to listen to you, all right, you need to tell them, this is what I need in my relationship. I need you to communicate with me very well, and I'm only willing to be in a relationship when somebody is willing to communicate, right? So because keeping our feelings and not speaking out our truths cause problems in a long run, in a long term, right? The third one is mature awareness, right? Mutual awareness. Both partners must take responsibility for this relationship. A healthy relationship is when both partners are taking responsibility in the relationship, right? A healthy relationship is when both partners are taking responsibility of the relationship. They're both there and present, okay? They're willing after an argument, okay? Let's sit down and talk about it. What really happened, okay? What really happened when I said a certain thing, you know what I mean? And listen to your partner very well, very important to know. that communication is very important when it comes to a healthy relationship, right? Even a platonic relationship, it's about communication, okay? But it's worse when you're in a romantic relationship, because that person might be your partner one day, or get married. You need to learn how to communicate very well, okay? Right? Then there's also spiritual connection, right? Spiritual connection speaks about your relationship. Understand the person's spirituality, what they believe in. Do they have faith in something? Are they religious, or are they more spiritual? Whatever they believe in, understand where your partner is, right? And express your own needs as well. Okay, all this should be done at the beginning of your relationship, before you'll even get married. Or all should be talking about these problems, talking about these issues in the dating, courting phase of things. You understand? Getting to know your partner, watching all the red flags, watching all the things that might just get lost. You get my point? Because you're so focused on, you're in the honeymoon phase. When you first meet some person, new person, you're in love, you're in honeymoon phase and stuff like that. And you're not thinking long term, because you're just enjoying the time now, right? But you're not learning at the same time, because you're so absorbed in this whole honeymoon phase. You're not learning more about the person. It's very important for you to learn about your partner, right? And then setting boundaries. You got to set boundaries, okay? Set clear boundaries, and let your partner know, I like my space, and allow that person to also have space as well. Allow them to have space to express himself, but also have space to have privacy. There's certain things that you don't need to get involved in with your partner's life, right? And you to yourself, you need your own boundaries as well. When I said this some time ago to somebody on a live on TikTok, and a person was saying, but how can that be? Because we're not married, we one. I said, no, you're not one. That's just a religious perception. You're not one. You're two different people in one life expression. You're as a married couple, but you're two different people, and you're sovereign beings. He's sovereign, you are sovereign. So why must you not give that person space? And why must you not have boundaries? Because at the end of the day, that person needs to be them who they are. Have the friends they want to have. Go to the places they want to go to. Speak the way they want to speak, as long as it's not disrespectful to the other person. You understand? Good communication, right? Those boundaries are very important, especially when it comes to things like um, dynamics, like cheating. Certain people don't accept cheating. Some people can okay with it. They're angry for the moment, and they're willing to move on. Others will not accept it at all. Cheating means that it's over for certain people, you understand, but not for every person, right? So people are different. Get to know your partner very well. What are my boundaries? What are the expectations in this relationship? Very important. Expectations in the relationship are very important. Okay, let your partner know what are your expectations. Okay, Nina, you're asking, yes, it's not about always being right. You're right. But what happens when everything you do is wrong? Okay, the problem is this. When everything you're doing was wrong, then that's impossible. I mean, that's totally impossible. If your partner is fighting with you and saying that everything you do is wrong, then there's no accuracy there, right? That person's not viewing you in the eye lens of love anymore. Is viewing you in the eye lens of judgments. Okay, if you want to be with me, I'm not perfect. Okay, and that person's also not perfect, right? So your partners are perfect, you're not perfect. So how can everything you do be wrong? It's impossible. She said that person's not in the relationship for the right reason. The person's not in there to add value, but the person's there to criticize you. Right now, most of us are married to critics, right? If we in a relationship with very critical people, right? It's because of the way they were brought up, okay? If they experience criticism in their family, growing up as children, right? They think that's the way you do in life. That's how you do in relationship. You need to now be very critical to other people. Now, it's so far from love. Being critical and judgmental is so far from love, right? When you met me, you didn't meet a perfect person, right? Now we're together. Now you want to criticize me, judge me, break me down. But you never meet me as a perfect person. Meaning your insecurities are coming to play here, right? It's all about that person's insecurities, and they're now projecting all the insecurities on you, okay? Because even that person that's judging and saying that everything you do is wrong, right? Every time they're criticizing you, even him himself or herself is not perfect, right? So the question is, will they like to be judged and be criticized the way they're doing to you? Yeah, it's true. So that's how it is when it comes to relationships. If there's no love in the relationship, you should check that out in the early stages before you commit yourself in that relationship, before you make those ethereal connections strong. Trying to understand your partner, who they are, right? And see, and even if, for example, a person might have a problem, right, an issue, and then when you communicate to them and you tell them, this is my stance on it, right, if the person is willing to take your point of view, it works more better than a person that just shuts you down and says, it's my way or the highway. I'm not listening to what you're saying, and whatever you're saying, I don't like it, and if you don't do as I want you to do, then this relationship is over. Then you should actually take that as an opportunity for you to step away from that relationship. When a person is so closed to having a relationship whereby you're free to be who you are, you have to be what they want you to be. That's not a healthy relationship at all. You understand? So those are the red flags that you'll be looking for at the beginning of your relationship. When you can see these things and people don't ignore them because they get too invested in the relationship, they get too invested. I mean, like this whole intimacy story and stuff like that. It holds people hostage to the relationship because you're in there for the fact that you enjoy the sex, right? You enjoy the intimacy, but you're not enjoying the socializing with the person, the relationship itself. Then what's the worth what of the relationship win-win? Because that intimacy is only a very small part of the relationship. The other parts are very big. How we get along, how we communicate, are we be able to relate to each other? Do you understand me, right? Are you willing to listen to me? Are you willing to also compromise on certain things, on your expectations, when you drop them a little bit so you can make room for the love you have for me? You understand? That's how it is. That's how it is in every relationship, because every relationship is not perfect. There's no perfection, right? Nobody is perfect, but relationships are there to grow us. They're the most transformative type of experiences that we can have, okay? Right, so we need to first check out for the red flags very soon at the beginning of the relationship. If this person is doable, can I do life with this person? Can I really do a relationship with this person? You need to be true and honest with yourself, right? Again, don't go into relationship for the wrong reasons, right? Like, for example, now we have a world where money is king, so people go into relationship because of the comfort, the material comforts, the money. The person's taking care of me, the person's earning big money, or the person has a certain status, I like it, I'm going to enjoy it, right? But now then you find that when you get in the relationship, that this person has got all the money, got all these material comforts, but they're so broken emotionally. Emotionally, they're broken. They're so intact. They're not nice people. They gaslighters and narcissists and stuff like that, right? That you'll only find out later on in the relationship. That's why, as a matured person, try and have good reasons for being in a relationship. Why are you in a relationship? For the companionship, for the partnership, for the love, for the sharing your life with another person, right? Because you want to be with this person. You can just envision yourself having children with this person and everything, having a good life, right? That's a more and more healthier way. Now, but now when you invested into it because you want the money or you want the status of being with that person is or because you are lonely and you've been single for years and now you hate being single. You know what I mean? You hate being single, so you're in the relationship because you get so frustrated and lonely and miserable and depressed when you're single. That means you got issues you need to work on yourself within yourself before you are ready to have a relationship. Okay? Because if you're feeling lonely and feeling miserable outside of a relationship, then there's issues you have within yourself that you need to sort out. Right? That's how it works. That's how it works, right? So I'm about to finish my live now. I like to keep it for about like not longer than an hour, right? So anyway, it's all about you taking responsibility. Relationships about you taking responsibility of your life experience. Romantic relationships are there to grow us. Romantic relationships are there to expand us. because they're transformative, right? However, we need to make those decisions of who we are choosing to be involved very carefully and the reasons why we want to be those with that person, right? Remember that the relationship is about you adding value and you receiving value as well, right? You're receiving that acceptance, that love, that kindness, and you also add in that love and kindness. So it's a give and take. Okay, it's a give and take. If a relationship is not serving you, you are giving, but you're not receiving as much as you should that you desire to receive, right? Then you should reconsider your relationship with that person. Am I okay here? Am I safe in this relationship? You understand? Because I heard somebody ask on TikTok yesterday, am I safe in my relationship? And that was like a safe in the relationship. And maybe think, okay, so this person may be feeling that this person's not good for them. There's certain things that this person's doing, habits, whatever. Maybe it's cheating. Maybe they're not people that are respectful. You know, I'm trying to say that maybe they speak too vulgar, whatever it is. So when you're in a life, you can't really ask those questions, right? But it made me think that most people are in relationships and they're not feeling safe, right? When a man is in a relationship with a woman, right? And she is not going to take this whole um, cheating thing, right? And he's coming from a space of feeling unsafe with one partner because maybe, for example, he had a relationship problem before and his partners have always been cheating on him, right? So he feels that, okay, for me to be able to be safe, I have this relationship because I really like this person. I really love this person. I really love the way this person makes me feel. However, just to be safe, let me just go and play the field and have other partners so I can feel safe in case this relationship doesn't work. You see what I mean? Because of that person's past experience. So they're carrying all that luggage into this current relationship that he's having now with the one with the partner, and he's carrying his unsafety into the relationship. So she's asked me that question: am I safe in my relationship? Okay, I think that's a good question that most people should ask when you first start a relationship. You fall in love with a person, you begin your relationship. Ask yourself: do I feel safe here? Right? Do I see a long-term collaboration with this person, a long-term type of arrangement where we both happy, right? Because remember, there's mental safety we're talking about, right? We're talking about emotional safety here, mental safety, emotional safety, and it may be also physical safety, depending on the person. If the person's physically abusive, whatever, right? So these three comes together: the emotional, psychological, and then your physical safety, very important in a relationship. Ask yourself that question: am I safe with this person, right? Will this person have my back when I'm not there and somebody's talking bad about me? Will that person have my back? Am I safe with that person? Psychologically, emotionally, very important, right? As I said, it's all about how you were brought up. And remember, how you brought up is not concrete, because how you were brought up in your conditioning can be reconditioned as an adult. So this is what self-development is all about. You reconditioning yourself, right? So as a life coach and a motivational speaker, I know that we constantly need to be reconditioned. If something doesn't work for you, right? If you come from a home where things were done in a certain way, okay, and now you're in a relationship, and now you're going to carry it the same way that you've learned from your home, and you're in your relationship, okay, and you saw how your parents managed their relationship. Now you need to remember that your partner is not your mother, your partner is not your father. Your partner is unique, a unique individual. So they will not accept what your mother or your father accepted in their relationship. So what you witnessed in your family dynamics, in that mother-father thing that you observed, right? For example, you're in a home where there was a lot of abuse. Your father was verbal abusive to your mother. He was always screaming and shouting, and he was intolerant. He was not a tolerant person, right? He always complained, right? He's always shouting, screaming. She's not perfect. She needs to still sort herself out. All those things are very important, right? Now you carry that dogma into your relationship. Then you start treating your partner or your partners exactly the same way. Now, that does not serve you because now it's causing problem in your relationships, right? So you have this idea that what your parents were or what your mother was accepting you as a man, You bring that into that in your relationship, and you start now expecting your partner to behave the way your mom behaved by being submissive when the father was too domineering, complaining, screaming at her, and everything. You can't, and you think this is how you do relationships. You know what I mean? Then you find that now you're constantly in turmoil, conflicts in your relationship because you're using something that doesn't work. Doesn't work. It worked there in your parents' dynamics. Not going to work now with you because your partner is totally different to your mother if you're a man, for example, right? So you need to learn and adapt healthier ways of coping with certain things in your relationships. Change. That's where it's about the transformative experience of being human in relationships. It's about you transforming what does not work and change and put something that does work. Things that are better. Right? You'll find that your parents were married for many, many, many years. Your father abuse your mother verbally, but your mother stayed there. That was maybe in the 70s or even early on, right? When women were not evolved, women were not so progressive as they are now. You understand? Now women are more progressive, right? So now you're expecting your partner to behave the way your parents your mom behaved by being too permissive and accepting the abuse. And now you with somebody who's not a permissive type of personality. This person is vocal, self-aware, knows what they want, and they're not going to take this nonsense. You see, that's why I'm saying you need to change. It's all about you understanding your dynamics of in your relationship, understand your partner very well, communication, look, listen to all the signs of who your partner is and what they're expecting. Ask them as well. What is your expectations in a relationship? You understand? Are you okay with this type of approach? Very important. People like to think, yeah, marriage is all about the romance. It's about the hard work as well. It's about the work you put into it, about the communication. It's about the agreement. It's like going into a partnership. It's like a partnership, basically. It's a corporate partnership with somebody, right? This is our constitution. This is how we behave in this home, okay? This is how we behave in our relationship, right? So you need to keep to that. And it's all it's about the compromise. Is your partner okay with the suggestions for this constitution in this relationship? You understand? Is your partner ready to actually adapt certain things that you're suggesting? Then you listen to your partner as well. What do you think? What is your ideas on how we can approach this thing? Very important. People fall into love instead of learn learn to love the person. You're falling into love. You're not learning to love. You're falling into love and you're pushing, throwing yourself in there no matter what. It's like somebody jumping into the ocean from a high cliff and you're just jumping. You don't know what you're going to meet at the bottom, right? That's what happens to falling in love, right? But when learn, you learn your partner. Now this is like a dance, right? We're now coming into collaboration, you and I. We're going to be working step by step together. It's not a falling thing. We're getting to know each other. Who are you? And I can express who I am as well and what I want, and then you can express what you want as well. So we're getting to know each other very well. Don't just fall into love. Control yourself. Go into relationship with realistic expectations, right? But then also allowing your partner to express their own realistic expectations. It's like a dance. I remember one pastor saying that marriage is like a dance. Two people coming together, they're holding, and normally the male wants to lead, right? But now in our society, women can also lead, or we can both lead, or we can have turns to lead in certain areas in our relationship, right? Because moving with the old dogma of relationships from the 1920s and bringing them now in 2025 doesn't work, right? The world has changed. So we need to also change our way we see our relationships. What works with you? What do you want? Okay. And we have the choice of who we're going to spend our lives with. We have a choice on who we're going to spend our lives with. I want a religious woman, so I go for the religious woman. I want a hardworking corporate type, I go for that person. You have that choice, right? You have that choice. That's how it is. The gift of choice is one of the big things that we need to take advantage of. Don't just fall into love, right? Learn your partner. Go in there with a sound mind, know what you want, and know that certainly it's not going to accept you, understand? Things that you will compromise on, things that you won't compromise on. Very important when it comes to relationships. I hope this is helpful. If you have not as yet, Nino, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel, right? Because I can see you like this type of topics, right? Go and subscribe to my channel so that you can see my videos coming through, and also click on that bell to make sure that you're able to see when I put through posts, and also when I do lives. I normally do one live on Saturday and one live on a Sunday. But then if it's a holiday in my country, in South Africa, I also do a live as well. Right? I don't spend too much time on social media because I'm more of a content sharer. I don't like to consume too much time and consume too much content on social media because I'm a busy person, right? So I'm not always online. But when I am online, I like to speak about topics that already add value to us as people, so we can become better people. So my channel is basically about self-development, about spirituality, and I can go deep into spiritual concepts as well, right? So as I said, subscribe if you have not subscribed. So and also comment on my videos, watch my videos, share and comment as well on my videos as well. It's my pleasure, sweetie pie. Thank you. Actually spelled my name right. Thank you so much, Nino. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for the questions as well, in partaking and engaging with me. Okay. Have a great week, and remember that you are blessed. You are abundant being, and you're in total control of your own life. You are a sovereign being. Okay. So have an amazing week further, because now it's Sunday today, and tomorrow is the first day of the week, work week. Okay. So have a great week, a week further, guy. Right. Bye.